But yeah, you're already showing like a lot of like high level understanding of the game, but I think what's missing is that individual playmaking potential from yourself. All right, so to get things started, I'll be sharing my screen over Discord, so you can watch along in real time. You should also be able to see if I draw on the screen with my pen tool like this.
Exactly. Yes. Let me
All
just
right,
try
perfect.
somehow. I don't think. Oh yeah, in the bottom right. Okay.
So
Hmm.
this is about a mid-plat Zarya gameplay we're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that was quite a good session for me.
mhm.
Which I think I played 10 games, lost one, which I got stomped, and won the other nine. So
Oh
the
wow.
replay codes I do have wins, but I think that's actually pretty good. I think the easiest way to start this out is give you a little bit of like background
For
to
sure.
me and kind of what are my own goals are. I don't know if you have anything you want to kind of say before we get into this, but
No, I was
yeah.
just going to ask those exact questions, so go for it.
I do come prepared, yes. So okay, so I've been not playing like shooters or any kind of these kinds of game for the last 16 years when I stopped playing
Hmm.
Counter-Strike. I then back then transitioned to Warcraft and then Dota, playing Dota for the longest time on a pretty high kind of level. Back in the day, I was in Dota Invite, played with people from SK and stuff. So, and I've kind of retained a pretty high level with that even up until now, playing Dota 2. I played some LoL, also high level, although not as high, and played a WoW, getting multiple gladiators. So I'm kind of used to kind of being fairly competitive and
Yeah, you've been through the gauntlet a few times.
usually do quite well with these kinds of things. But
Hmm.
this being a shooter, obviously I'm a little bit out of my element when that kind of thing goes on. So I think my weaknesses are kind of spatial awareness a little
Okay.
bit because it's just a different kind of way to portray the game, right? Like
Yeah, for sure.
looking from above, like Dota or like obviously shooting. And obviously the kind of aiming itself, it can be
Hmm.
quite challenging because I'm not used to kind of that kind of controlling. But I think due to my experiences in the past, I think I have a pretty good mindset. I usually focus on kind of team focused gameplay in itself. Like Dota, I play position 4, position 5, which is kind of the support roles,
Okay.
like the roles that don't get much money, but they're used to kind of help the other lanes get map
Right.
control and that stuff. So I'm used to kind of teamwork, and I think I have a pretty good focus on games, trying to do what I'm supposed to do. Although, with that being said, I haven't played Overwatch for the longest time, so I kind of missing a little bit of kind of framing
Hmm. For sure.
sometimes.
And
What is my job exactly?
exactly. And that's exactly what I want to focus on. We talked a little bit yesterday about what we wanted to cover today in this session. And
Hmm.
I think, like, mechanically and stuff like that, that will come with time. You mentioned you haven't played shooters in a long time, you haven't played Overwatch specifically in a while. This is a new skill set you're picking up, but you know what it takes to level up those skills. You've been through those trials before, and I've got no doubt you'll be able to succeed fairly well when building up your own skill set mechanically in Overwatch. What we're definitely going to be focusing on is sort of the harder to grasp aspects of the game, and
Hmm.
you nailed it right on the head. It's got the complexity of a MOBA with the perspective of a shooter. So there's
Right.
because of that, there's a lot of things that change from awareness perspective. You need to be more aware of things happening faster, and you need to be more reactive in terms of like how you're processing that information and faster with it. So, ready to just jump right into things then?
Yeah, sure. So in
All
the
right.
beginning here, I kind of see and heard the tracer kind of flanking, and you will see me be kind of a little bit, kind of, well, this is
Looking for
super
that
laggy for
information.
me, your stream.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe because you're in the US server and I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Europe, that
Is
might be
this
an
any
issue.
better if I'm
So
flying around? Is it choppy?
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot better. It's a lot
Okay,
better. Yeah.
perfect.
So you see me kind of around, being aware, trying to figure out what's going
Mm-hmm.
on here, but also helping my tank and kind of trying to figure out how my backline is going if we have to support. In general, this is kind of, and this is a bad kind of shield. Okay, but like in general, I'm like concerned about the one person in my backline and to see
Mm-hmm.
how many of my friends, my teammates, kind of are worrying about that, and if we kind of need to play a little bit further back in the front line,
So,
playing until they figured out what's happening with the backline here, right? That's kind of what was on my mind in this kind of push.
So there's
mostly.
two things I want to address. So one, we were aware of the Tracer threat coming from this angle, while still trying to maintain pressure in the front line. And
Yeah.
one thing you're doing really good that I don't see enough players doing, especially on your role, is moving your camera to collect that information whenever you can. Whenever you got downtime, whenever you're reloading, whenever you're between right clicks or anything like that, you're looking back to look for that Tracer to identify whether she's a threat or not. But what you're not doing is thinking about how you can be more impactful to create your own threat. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing right now is we're playing neutral really well. We are actively supporting our front line. We are maintaining stability by assessing threats. But
Mm-hmm.
the key thing we want to be looking for in a moment like this, especially as Zarya or potentially even as D.Va, is looking for opportunities to turn this neutral fight, where both teams are sort of at this line staring each other down,
Close. Yeah.
into an advantage, which we can push on. So as Zarya,
Okay.
you're typically looking for one of two ways of doing that. And that's going to be either overwhelming amounts of pressure in the front line, and in this mirror matchup, in Rein Zarya versus Rein Zarya, that's going to look like either
Pushing DPS.
your Reinhardt getting way more value from your bubbles and getting swings on the enemy Reinhardt to the point he gets to like half HP, no shield, and we just push him back. Or it's going to look like you finding an off angle and finding backline pressure, where you can either do a short flank like this and get a right click and beam down a backline target, or you can get a flank like this if your Reinhardt's pushing up here. You can flank around the enemy Reinhardt shield and find that damage. Because right now what we're doing is we are standing behind our Reinhardt and we're trading value with the enemy Rein Zarya, but we're not finding an opportunity to go aggressive. So this whole time you were shooting shield, right? And that's not bad.
Mostly, yeah. Yep.
It's better than not shooting anything. But we could be finding more, and we could be finding more aggressive opportunities. And even like in a moment like this, if you were, for example, here, let me go back just a little bit further and we'll watch this from top down. So with this self bubble here, and then with this trade in the bubble here, we're actually at a bit of an advantage right now because we have better damage on their Rhine coming up right here, and we have equal charge with our Zarya. But because we've maintained this sort of static neutral position, we're not able to capitalize on that. We have to just wait for our Rhine shield to charge up, wait for our next set of bubbles. The only thing other than that I would say
was extremely bad. So
yeah, the only thing
kind
else I would say about the
comfortable
self
kind of
bubble
pushing further.
is so this is a bubble strictly only for charge. And at this point during the
Absolutely,
fight,
yeah.
you're already
I thought Hanzo was shooting at me, but he wasn't. So that
Yeah.
was kind of why it's such a bad bubble. Yeah.
if this is just a charge bubble, that's actually not that bad. But at this point during the fight, when we're already sort of staging this neutral position, we're matching our front lines like this, we want to be finding more than just charge. We want to be finding damage, aggressive positioning, these kind of things. So what you can do in a situation like this is you can use the fact that you have self bubble available, and instead of using it, just like try to peek around. This is like not very good of an angle because the Rhine shield's going to block this anyway. But if you were able to find a position like this, or able to find a position like this,
Yeah,
then
this
you
is interesting because I would never push hotel here as long as there's a tracer in the backline of my people, because I would feel extremely exposed if like in the later of the part of the game I kind of miss tracking the Winston at that point and he jumps my backline and I do push, and obviously you get completely kind of trounced because they are really busy kind of helping the Anna stay alive and she doesn't have a sideline because of the bubble. So that's why I wouldn't I think pushing on the right side feels much more natural to me because I have like a way to go back, but as soon as I leave the front line, I am fearful that as soon as the tracer does something, the enemy Ryan can push in and kind of cut me off, right?
So there's sort of two ways of thinking about this, and there's no wrong or right answer per se. But have you ever heard the phrase "play to win, don't play not to lose"? Have you ever heard something similar to that before?
I understand. That's what I meant earlier with like trying to make the play or trying to have like a consistent kind of stable.
In this case, Tracer is a valid threat, but realistically, are you going to ever force a play out of this Tracer that's going to benefit you by playing more cycling? You're going to prevent her from making aggressive plays, sure. But outside of her having like maybe a pulse bomb ready to go, is your presence here with your backline going to find an advantage for you as a team versus you in the front line? So you're going to prevent potential advantages, maybe, but realistically, there's two supports that can peel for each other. There's a decent amount of healing. Ana has cooldowns that can prevent Tracer's aggression. We even see our Hanzo, obviously, probably not in-game, but there's even just the two support line characters can deal with Tracer. most of the time, unless the tracer is like hard smurfing and one clipping your supports one at a time, in which case you might need to react to that. But in a neutral setting, when we don't know how good this tracer is, when we see she's back behind us alone, we need to be creating more threat and looking for more opportunities ourselves, because otherwise we're just waiting for them to find an opportunity. We're waiting for them to coordinate their aggression between their front line and the tracer, rather than coordinating our own aggression from our front line.
Right. Okay, so you would try to kind of push the enemy, try to make something happen, basically.
Take more control over the game, basically.
Rather than waiting for your team to solve the issue that I feel right now, right? I feel I cannot push in like super aggressively because I know if I'm unlucky, let's say, and choose a like wrong or weak timing, then I might just be stranded and just like feed, basically, which happens in this game.
This is also due to the fact that you are playing a character that can absolutely carry games with your kit alone. Like if you get high charge, you can beam down squishy targets yourself. You can be more threatening than the enemy tracer, right? If you were playing someone like Hog, I would say the same thing, but also Hog would have kill threat over this tracer. And you playing back to deal with the tracer would not only prevent her from getting eliminations and value, but also potentially lead to an advantage. That doesn't really exist with Zarya or as a hero like D.Va, where you're preventing, but you're not finding opportunities.
Okay, so you would say in this case, help your tank, try to push the enemy so they cannot do kind of what they want to do. Okay, got it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, my next kind of point that I really wanted to speak about actually happens in street space.
Okay.
Obviously, if there's something that you have, at least
yeah, we'll watch through it and see if anything major comes up.
Maybe can you go to 720p here, because it's still pretty choppy.
Still choppy? Yeah, sure. And there. Hopefully that's a bit better.
Pretty bad nade, so I fall back.
Nicely from your Ana there. I do want to rewatch this whole exchange from a top-down perspective here. So, good ebb and flow here. We respect the things, them getting priority on their cooldowns, like the Ana nade. We give up space, and then we go back in with priority. Unfortunately, we get a bit disconnected from our Reinhardt here.
That happens a lot in this game. I felt like the Reinhardt was very aggressive and not very conscious of what happened to the rest of his team. I had like really good DPS that like kind of shit on the enemy a few times. So,
so that's always good. I would say, obviously, it's very early into this game to realize who is the strongest player on your team, that kind of thing. But typically, when you are playing a hero like Zarya, you can't help everyone. You're limited by your bubbles and your positioning. So typically, what you'll want to do is glue yourself to one or maybe two people that you'll be playing around the most. Obviously, typically, that will be your Reinhardt in this kind of situation. So it's a bit unfortunate, but I like the way, I just wanted to point out that you're ignoring Tracer in this instance to push up with your Reinhardt rather than waiting back here and peeling for your Ana Mercy. It was only Tracer in your backline. Hopefully, our Hanzo is going to win this duel and take this kill. And then our support is better used with our Reinhardt here.
Yeah, and I also felt like we need to kill like one of the tanks like now because we lost our tank. It's either now or we fall back or we try to make the play and die together. And that kind of was my mindset here.
I would actually like to see you take more of a carry role in this position where, yes, killing a tank and answering the tank kill is a big deal. And I think this is a bit of a MOBA mentality coming through in your brain right now. But trades in Overwatch are often bigger than just what's happening in the team fight. So more important than killing a Rein right now, I would say it's important to kill a support. Do you know why that might be?
But it was in range. Yeah, sure, because the support keeps everybody else alive or the DPS kills us. I mean, if I have access to them, I obviously it's so much faster to kill them and kind of get them out. But right now, I don't think the right clicks would be dangerous enough, but I'm like super high charge at this point. And
you can kill anything right now.
And it's in range. Exactly, yeah. So
another reason though, I want to say supports.
Like, okay, go.
Another reason I say supports though is also because of how close our spawn is compared to the enemy spawn. And if you trade out with anyone right now, the best person for you to trade out with would be the Mercy.
Yeah, because she
Or sorry, that's our
commits
Mercy
and kind
with the enemy Mercy. Yeah,
circumvent the issue. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
Absolutely.
this is one of those opportunities where even though you don't have a frontline target, you can be going aggressive into the backline. Maybe this would take too long going through hotel, but even just walking past this Rhine, seeing how much peeling he's getting right now means the time to kill this Rhine is going to be very low. And our opportunity window is very small right now because our Rhine went down. So it's good that you're being aggressive in this moment, and it's really good that our Ana lands all these cooldowns on the enemy Rhine that we actually managed to get the kill.
Too, which was just clutch. Yeah,
that was huge. But again, if imagine in another universe, in another timeline, if we were going aggressive here, maybe being supported by our Mercy, maybe going with our Genji, and ignore this Rhine, even if Rhine kills 2 people with that Shatter and the Nano, and we trade out with the Mercy and maybe the Ana or the Hanzo or someone, that's more beneficial for us to take those trades because of the spawn advantage.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, this is me just feeling like spacing is so important. Maybe I'm just like, mobile brain. You're absolutely right.
Don't think too much like a tank, especially on Zarya. Think about your potential to carry this fight. Like, obviously, you are a tank, and you're more survivable and better used in the front line than your DPS members, but in that kind of situation where it's up to you to get kills to finish that fight, or at least to get trades to benefit the fight as it carries forward, you want to go for the most guaranteed kills in that moment, which would have been backline members.
Yeah, in a second I realized that Hanzo is not in voice because we have Hanzo Zarya, and I want to kind of look for
go for the combo
ulti now, or he's going to have ulti now, and I'm like kind of looking for it, but yeah, there's an interesting kind of decision point coming up for me.
Okay, I will say
that in a second. Yeah.
Even if he's not in voice, best case, just spamming the Z key, spamming I have ultimate, it typically gets through their brains. Grab Dragon's a very known combo. Nano Blade, very known combos.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how this goes right now. Just trying to get some space. So now we just shot our dragon, right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, no combo on the table anymore.
But I didn't really feel like I had a good decision. And now I use my ult. Can you pause for a second here?
Yes.
I use my ult, even though we are kind of just lost our main tank, which I maybe just missed for a second. But and they used their dragon too. But I thought kind of, okay, if I use my ult now, then maybe there's a chance we can do something. And also, if I don't use my ult now, there's no way we're gonna sync up in our ults again, right? Like, because the ult charge generation is roughly the same, depending on how fights go, yada yada yada. But like, if I don't use it now, that's not gonna happen. So maybe next time, if I use it now, there's a higher chance that we can actually have the high impact play, and maybe something good happens. Obviously, Mercy is still an ult. We just lost our main tank. The dragon kind of pushed the rest of our team back, so that's kind of all kind of goes against it. But I was like, so what do you think about like using like a weak ult here, trying to kind of get the timing kind of to line up better, right? Of the abilities.
The only thing I didn't like about this ult was that you weren't able to follow up because of this bubble you just used right here. So this is, I 100% agree with this ultimate use because they are committing resources to kill this Rhine. It's not like your Rhine died for free and they're still at 100% capacity. They committed Dragon, they committed Rhine's position, they committed Valkyrie, they committed Bubbles to guarantee this kill. These are now resources they won't have to stabilize from your grab. They still have some resources. Their Valk is still going. They managed to nade the ground. But I think right now, if you had self-bubble available, you would be able to walk forward. Walk forward, right-click melee into 3 people like this. Even with your team being zoned off, they still are within range to follow up. And then the enemy Reinhardt has to choose between either coming back to punish you or zoning off the rest of your team off this angle. And more than likely, he'll fall back to his team, which again creates space for your team and sort of evens out the fight again. So
yeah.
This is a pretty
kind of didn't know which was kind of because I knew it was kind of a weak thing, but
this is a bit of a high level concept, and in the Overwatch League, if you're watching professional matches and stuff like that, this is something that people will do at a team level. But when you're playing in ranked, especially in these sort of medal ranks and the middling ranks like this, you need to be able to capitalize on the situation as a solo member. So what that means is Zarya is making sure that if you are grabbing these members, you are getting kills off the grab yourself. It doesn't matter what your team is doing. It doesn't matter what just happened to your Reinhardt. You as an individual need to be able to carry this play, and you were so close to doing it. And that nade wasn't ready. Genji kills 3 people, but doesn't quite work out the way we wanted it to. Still, could have been much worse. Oh, and Genji's going in.
Popping off. Popping off, so that's why we were.
So this is an example of, again, Genji's doing the concepts we just talked about. So they are committing resources to pushing you and the rest of your team out, and Genji's capitalizing on that with an individual play that he knows he can follow through on himself. He doesn't need additional support to make this play. Granted, he's doing a really good job of dodging all that damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very surprised at that. But
Yeah.
it worked out.
So yeah, if you want to make a similar play, keep in mind that you need to be the one to take action and take the fight into your own hands, so to speak.
Yeah.
As much as we would love to say our team could have followed up that grab, it would have been great if our Ana naded it or something.
Yada yada. Yeah, sure. But
It's
whatever.
too
It didn't
hard to
happen,
guarantee.
So I'll deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're already showing like a lot of like high level understanding of the game, but I think what's missing is that individual playmaking potential from yourself. And that's going to come from, again, like what we talked about on first point, your angle pressure and your individual threat, and following up on your own plays rather than expecting or needing team play.
Okay.
Jane would be happy to see all the right clicks coming out.
I mean, do something, right?
Yeah, may as well. It's free. Free ult charge. Nice. So, again, we're falling into this habit of somewhat passive bubbling. So again, watching this from the top down, we bubble our Rhine. Would have liked to see him get an extra swing off there, but we already found a huge advantage. We should be thinking not just, okay, I'm going to bubble to keep up pressure here, but you should be thinking to yourself, how am I going to get the most value for myself during this fight? I've got grab coming up soon. Sure, I don't have completely high energy, but is this bubble the best for me as an individual? And right now, basically, you're just bubbling for charge.
I was trying to get the uptime to kill Brick here, the opportunity.
Okay.
That was I thought she was out of position, and if I bubble, I can just push in, and at least force kind of cooldowns for because she kind of already stunned, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you're absolutely right. You do get that kill. I guess I'd like to see a bit more greed from your behalf.
Okay.
I think because she had already used her bash, and because there was no immediate threat, and because you were already within range behind Ryan's shield, you didn't really need to bubble yourself forward to try and get that kill. But this would be a great opportunity. So we see Shatter doesn't land, our Ryan's going down. Imagine if we had bubble right now to continue our aggression here.
Yeah, and kill
to block Shatter for one.
Yeah.
And then keep it up. So again, you are playing Zarya quote unquote properly. You're playing it for the team. You're playing it for your Reinhardt to contest space in the front line, and you're a very menacing presence in the front line. But you're not playing to carry the game. And in ranked, that's kind of what the mindset you need to have.
Okay.
You can use your teammates all you like, especially your Reinhardt. Again, we want to glue ourselves to typically one or at maximum two people who can focus on assisting during a game like this.
So to kind of try to put this into perspective, so you say I don't play greedy enough with my health, a little bit too trigger happy on the self bubble specifically?
I think you're playing too passively with your bubbles. So it's not that you're using bubble too early, it's that you're using it in ways that don't allow you to be the most aggressive. Like, that was not a bad use of bubble, but it wasn't a use of bubble that allows you to be as aggressive as possible. Like, that was a good bubble for team stability and for getting ult charge, or not ult charge, for getting your charge up.
Yeah, okay.
But because you can't depend on your Reinhardt to not die here, you can't depend on your team, like your Hanzo, to find a good flank during this time, or your Genji to find backline threat during this time. You need to take more power into your own hands, and in order to do that, you need to be more greedy.
Okay.
And what's kind of contradictory is that the higher up you go, the more you'll be able to trust your teammates to play, better, more properly, more organized, and stuff like that. Especially if you're playing in
pubs. That's what I said in the beginning, right? Like, try to make the play. And what I found in Dota specifically is that the higher you go, the more kind of preservative you need to play, because if you try to make the play, you need to expend the resources, and everybody's going to see that, oh dude, he just wasted his shit, like, let's murder him, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I will say resources they come back much quicker in Overwatch compared to a game like Dota especially, but still very, very true. The game is very fast paced, and as soon as they see that engage opportunity, again, like you said, the higher up you go, the faster they will be to capitalize on it.
Okay.
Now we go for a nice easy combo this time. Again,
Yeah, and
I'd like to see yourself bubble save. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and as soon as I heard the dragon come, I was like, okay, I don't care about the people I grabbed right now. Try to finish the rest. That kind of supposed, in my point of view, are still dangerous. But yeah, so you say I'd grab bubble to.
So as you mentioned, the grab comes through. We know this grab's going to be followed up by the dragon. And again, this is a very safe passive bubble. And in order for us to be the difference maker, even beyond this combo, we're bubbling. So just to get from a top-down perspective, we bubbled, and we've done nothing but hold the same space. And now, as we start to take damage, as we want to be pushing, exactly.
You can be blunt. It's fine. It's okay.
To a lesser extent. I just want to, there is a big nuance to these abilities, and I would say the same about this Rein bubble here. Rein ideally would be bubbling as he's in the grab, like swinging. As a tank,
I've seen him like before to be a little bit like.
He's been over aggressive in the past, so you want to hit him faster, kind of thing.
Like he's been over aggressive in my opinion, the wrong situations, and not pushing when I wanted him to push. And I was like, okay, look, you can swing in them. Here's a bubble.
The unfortunate reality is, there are some Rein players who play like that. End of the day, though, the proper way to play Zarya is it is your cooldown. You need to use it when it benefits you the most.
Absolutely. And, you're correct. You're correct. Especially the self bubble is absolutely inexcusable. You're absolutely right.
And then the only thing I was going to add on to this is you do want to have a very strong DPS mindset. The one part of your kit you can think about as being a tank is your 400 HP. So even though you're half health right now, you're still at 200 HP. And if you had, again, like when you used your bubble, you were still at 200 HP. You were still basically as strong as a normal DPS hero. If you were McCree right now, you would probably be giving up the space, but since you are Zarya, you have the capability of being healed. You have a cooldown like Self Bubble available. This is where you'd want to be thinking about saving it to go aggressive instead of needing to peel back immediately.
Yeah. Okay.
But seems like we're doing okay. Ryan spent his entire nano swinging at you, so that's good for our team. So yeah, part of the reason these fights are going so well is because the enemy team is playing very linearly. They're playing sort of front to back. I don't know if that term carries over from Dota or League or not. I've heard people from League say it a lot.
They're playing very standard, very
exactly.
Okay, and what you're doing, you're not surprising me at all.
And in the meantime, our Hanzo's getting value, our Genji's getting value, and stuff like that. In a game that's going less in our favor, where our team is playing more front to back, you want to be taking more of that onus into your own hands as Zarya. So it's hard on a map like Games Row.
In specifically this situation, flanking takes so much time as Zarya, I feel. So I kind of rather.
At most, what you would try to do is, if the Rhein's holding this corner and you're pushing around here, you would try to like swing wide, kind of thing.
Maybe with the self bubble you don't waste before.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just wanted to point that out as an example. But yeah, just showing how strong off-angling is because of how much your Hanzo and Genji are popping up. Look at that map knowledge, getting the jump up. Looking for any stragglers, good stuff.
I mean, yeah, there was kind of somebody there. I think Hanzo was there from them or something. So I was like, whatever. Yeah, so I kind of was wanted
just
to make sure.
Extra cautious, that's good.
Yeah, and we did one fighting.
Yeah, this is a good play. Because your Rein is playing so aggressive himself, it doesn't necessitate the need for off-angling as much, especially in these narrow maps, but it's good for you to create still separate pressure. So you're pressuring the payload at a different angle than he is, rather than just standing exactly where the...
Then stay on point. That was also an interesting thing. Like, I saw the soldier kind of hanging back around the kind of pillar on the back right, and basically they were just wiped, and they could only turn left or come out of the left or out of the right. Usually they come out of the left more than the right, but it doesn't matter. So I was like, my right clicks are really hard to actually kill here something, so I might have just been better to just push. But,
I think in this instance,
like, effective range.
If we're looking at this from a team play perspective, the quote-unquote correct play would be to leave Reinhardt on cart so that we could contest the soldier at range. and then you
Yeah,
could
okay.
play like here around these boxes to pressure anyone coming out this left door. That's the correct
Okay.
team play to do. Uh,
Okay.
this is ranked, so we are one a little bit lucky. We killed this soldier as he's dying, but realistically, all you should be worried about right now is how you're going to influence this fight yourself. And I think what you're doing, cutting towards this area, is really, really strong because right now the enemy team is like, oh fuck, I need to touch the payload.
We need to
They're
go.
not going to
Yeah,
want to
okay,
think
got it.
about a high charge Zarya back here. They're not going to want to take themselves off the payload. This is a good angle for you to take. The same thing would be true over here, but you don't need to stack on top of your Reinhardt. He's already creating enough threat over here by himself. It's just
Right.
this was a
Speaking-
disadvantageous duel
speaking
for
of
your
two
Hanzo, but he
tanks,
still won
right?
it.
What you can do with what you can do with 2 tanks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
2 tanks are really important for Overwatch. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a core part of its gameplay.
Yep. It's a good thing that as an off tank I invest money right now. It's a real.
I will say,
Yeah, so we get obviously ults and kind of.
and yeah, winning the ult battles, using bubbles on cooldowns in this kind of fight kind of makes sense. This is a situation where you could, I like that you are staying on payload, but it's also a situation where you could be like sitting off payload just to give yourself an easier time tracking these members. So
Right.
it's hard for you to like whip, because you're hit scan, because you're a beam hero, it's hard to whip your crosshair all around and above you to hit that Doomfist, for example, versus just like anchoring over
Yeah.
here or behind the payload.
Yeah,
Stuff
I
like
felt
that.
it's better to just go on top of the payload and just like go there against the ball because they could just like do the carousel. I don't know the English
For
word
sure.
it right now, but just like kind of swing around and follow him, tracking him.
Yeah.
Felt like better than having just like 50% uptime, kind of.
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable doing that. I'm just because your DPS are also performing well. Like it's good for you to anchor cards
Yeah.
so they have more space to work with. But in other situations where your DPS are dead or maybe not performing as well, you might need to consider a more
Right.
carry heavy
Kind of
position.
plug one of the exits for the enemy. and
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Get like obviously if the enemy is not as close, you don't need to kind of move your mouse as much. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that was really good attack round. Any questions about anything we covered? Anything you wanted to go more in depth on?
No, I think just point out. I mean, I understood the kind of concept about the self bubbles. Just point out when I do it wrong. To just say, okay,
sure.
this was a kind of opportunity where I should have done it. We don't need to go into detail why it's good. Okay.
Gotcha.
But this was one of those faults. I think that's kind of my question right now. The next kind of my game losing mistake, well, almost game losing mistake, is gonna come up on minute 12, which is and there's something
12?
coming up
Okay.
a little bit earlier. And there's something coming up a little bit earlier, but I don't know if I should push this or not. But I'm gonna keep up. So basically, fighting
So
a little
actually,
bit. I don't like to stand in front of where the Reinhardt is there as much because I don't feel like I can move into cover very easily. So that's why I stood a little bit further back. Yeah.
You're in the standard position. Your Reinhardt was just a little bit over aggressive, looking for a pin. I
mean,
I
he
do want to point
charged
out.
out of hotel.
Yeah, he's doing the fun play. I do want to point out the bit of comp difference coming forward now. So obviously, you
Right.
have a much more synergistic front line, working
Yeah.
against sort of double off tank.
But
Is
they have
this
the
sort of
picks.
standard
Yeah, they have the
terminology?
picks more. Yeah.
So what do you think that changes about your play?
Okay, so you will actually see this, me trying to apply this as well. Like, I will be
Okay.
much more kind of hesitant with the projected because it's just like the absolutely counter against the Roadhog if you can manage to kind of react in time and have sideline on him. And I will try to kind of check for flanks a little bit more, or kind of at least try to track where a Roadhog is coming. Yeah, that's kind of mostly it.
Okay. The biggest difference
What my
is
thoughts on
actually
it.
not part of your kit, but the biggest difference for me in both of these front lines is now your Reinhardt shield just became 10 times more valuable because they do not have a shield or any front line that can contest this shield for a long period of time. So what that means
Right,
as
Genji
you
and
Yeah.
Genji and Ash don't have the pressure that obviously
Exactly.
McCree and Hanzo have. Yeah.
Yeah. In order to
And
contest this
I'll
Reinhardt
shoot
shield, they're going to have to
badass.
break it, which takes a long time. They don't have like a Rein Zarya who can walk past it and start swinging, who can off angle around it, that kind of thing. So what that means
Okay.
is that this double off tank comp, the way this matchup works and the way you should be thinking about this as a tank player, is you want to play more for stability and they want to play more for off angle and almost like chaos around you. They want to start fires that end up splitting your attention. And the best way for you to deal with that is to definitely be aware of them, but not overcommit to any of them, because you will not win a 1v1 versus a Hog. You will generally not win a 1v1 versus a Sigma unless you're like extremely high charge and you outplay their cooldowns, that kind of thing. So you need to leverage your Reinhardt shield more. And exactly what you said, you need to be more conservative with your bubbles to be able to react to those situations where they are popping out of the woodwork to create that chaos. So everything I said from our attack about off-angling and stuff like that is now the incorrect play. Now the correct play is to anchor more.
Try to be buddy-buddy with your Reinhardt and try to kind of give him the freedom to push and leverage his hammer and the shield of his
and you can and you can use the fact that there's a shield in front of you to just get free damage, because there's no longer a Reinhardt shield blocking your damage. You can just sit by your Reinhardt and be like
through the shield.
Be the turret on top of his shoulder that's just beaming down all the targets in front of you.
Right.
Because there's not much mitigation anymore. Exactly.
Okay.
Nice reaction. A big part of playing tanks.
Keep them from flanking here.
A big part of playing tanks is making sure your playstyle is adaptive enough to be able to handle different matchups like this. So playing Rein Zarya versus Rein Zarya, like everyone knows that matchup. It's very easy to do that. But when other tanks, like if you're playing Rein Zarya versus Dive, or Rein Zarya versus this double off tank, that's where you need to pretty drastically change your playstyle in order to still be as effective as you can.
So this is the situation that I meant in the second here, because what happens is they kind of split into a 3-3, like three people of them on the left side on the kind of stairs, and the rest kind of being in respawns or being on the safe side of their kind of side of the wall. So what I wanted to do, what I wanted my Rein to do at my DPS was just like go murder, death, kill on those three people on the stairs, kind of mob them up, and then kind of turn around and finish the rest, because those are two tanks with like little support, right?
Yep.
So, and as you said earlier, just like as soon as we are in the melee, and I didn't think they could really run from us very well.
Yeah.
Maybe with Lucio they can, but I thought we had like the extreme advantage there that never really materialized.
So there's a couple things to consider here. One, of course, is the spawn advantage. We can't take very long taking this fight, because otherwise their reinforcements will come and murder us and we'll be out of position. So with spawn advantage comes like this off angle that we're walking through. Right now, at this very moment, this isn't a big deal because there's not large amounts of threats that we're walking through. So this is safe enough space to
just
go
respawned.
Yeah. So there will be soon, but not immediately. But the second thing to acknowledge is that even if this is a correct team play to make, it's going to take more than just you and your Reinhardt following this out fully. And it's going to take a fast reaction, again, like we said, so we don't expose this threat. Yeah. And we need a coordinated team play of ideally all 6 of us making this play work, so that we clean up these kills as fast as possible and then reset to safe positioning. So
I mean, it didn't happen, so I didn't try to do it. That was kind of my mindset.
At higher ranks, you'll be able to call for this faster. In a coordinated team environment, you'll be able to call for this faster. In this very game, very hard to make this play work. And generally speaking, Overwatch players at almost every rank will favor the safe option. So the safe option here is they're not really doing anything over here, so let's just play as if they're all coming from spawn.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's good that your brain is going there. It's just very hard. It's not something you can capitalize on individually, obviously. So it becomes very hard to sort of play chess with your teammates and get them to do what you want them to do when it takes fast reaction time and good game knowledge and good team synergy all to line up at the same time.
So I tried to push, but I kind of gathered that my team isn't really coming with. So
and now at this point, it's like it's too late to go through. We follow up on a grab though. Even just that one kill, that can be a one team fight. I love this bubble. So, let's go. This is exactly the bubble we're talking about.
Should I kill? I like watching this replay. I hate Genji apparently, because I will always kind of try to shoot his ass. But like, should I probably go on Anna here rather than Genji?
I think I mean, to be honest, you should be able to get both these kills with your bubble and 100 charge. This should be both. But yeah, perfect scenario. Your attention is on the Ana first. Just looking back at why your attention was on the Ashe first after this grab. I think she was literally just the first person you saw. And yeah, you were on the Sigma and then the closest target to you. You bubbled asleep, which is really good. But ultimately, like, both of these characters should die, regardless of who you kill first. Unfortunately, your Rhine is with you right now, and ideally he'd be the one soaking this aggression from the Nano Sigma during this time. But this is a perfect,
Right.
I just want to highlight, this is a really good use of your self bubble to coordinate this aggression and keep you aggressive during that window. Nice bubble to save the Mercy.
I heard ult, so I wanted to go back rather than trying to push the, and then she gets hooked anyways.
Good cleanup. Yeah, there were a few things I would tweak. Number one being your positioning during this whole exchange. So let's watch this back from a top down. So obviously, like I mentioned, this whole exchange with the Ashe and the Ana, really, really good. Now that we are coming back, reacting to the Sig ultimate, we no longer have our bubbles available, either of them, and we're in a very open space against some very split threats. So what are some
also dangerous ones?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways we could address this problem. One would be focusing on stability, which again is generally what most players will favor, is focusing on staying alive and regrouping, trying to get all of our members like within this circle, and then stabilizing and then taking down targets one by one. Since we have the more stable composition with Reinhardt Zarya, that will benefit us most of the time. There are more individualistic carry options you could be looking for at the same time, though. Instead of kiting to point during this instance, instead of playing here and then kiting this way, again, the option that makes the most sense, you could try kiting this way, maybe even towards the high ground, to do two things. To one, bait their attention away from the rest of your team. So this is actually somewhat of an act of stability, because maybe this Roadhog chases you into this
They need to
corridor.
be cognizant of me.
Yeah, exactly. And if he doesn't chase you and he continues going to point, you now have a free off angle, either from the high ground or from this angle, where even though there's no shields for you to get around, you're hitting their backline, ideally squishy members. You're able to maybe get on this Ana if she walks forward, that kind of thing.
So you say right now this is too offensive, trying to go for the murder because I have 100 charge, rather try to get the high ground kind of reset?
You win this exchange because you're just the better player, and these players are not playing up to your standard. But as you start climbing more and you start facing smarter and more accurate opponents, they will punish this position.
Hog me here.
Hog, Genji doesn't die.
Me like 3 times.
Because again, look at the way Genji pathed. He just, instead of wall climbing and getting away, he literally just walked through open space and let you beam him this entire time, as well as.
Too much murder, not enough.
Too much open space. Covered a little bit by the Nano, and obviously your McCree's aggression over there, but could have been cleaner in one of those two ways. General rule of thumb is anytime you're using your self bubble or anytime you don't have it available, you are ending your bubble position in a safe location, and if not in a safe location, in a position that's going to create it. Yeah, exactly. Behind shields, but by cover towards a health pack, like over here. All of these options are good. But you did a lot of damage, you got a lot of kills, so it worked out.
So obviously here the enemy has spawn advantage. What I'm trying to do is just like shoot generally in their direction, trying to like,
stall them out a little bit.
Don't give them free space.
Nice bubble.
Exactly.
The reactions are good.
No, I kind of felt like I needed to support Ryan, but was scared about Hog. Yeah, here
so,
I kind of wake. But they all press Q here and we lose. I mean, whatever.
This is 100% more on your Rhine than on anyone else on your team, because again, we are the more stable composition than their front line, and even though you don't have Rhine with you, like you saw how threatening you were because they don't have a shield to throw in front of you. Like they're scared to walk at you because you're high charge, lobbing these right clicks that are doing close to 100 damage. They don't want to take that poke, so they're taking their time. They're waiting for their shields. They're waiting for their tanks to find value. Unfortunately, instead of going for that stability, our Rhine goes for a hero play, gets naded, and gets demolished, which was just wholly unnecessary.
And again, was this another stealth bubble that was too early and was not greedy enough?
Well, you bubbled to block the Sigma Rock, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay, yeah. So like, it's not a bad. So the reason this isn't a bad bubble is because realistically, a fight is not about to break out. They just lost one. They just rezzed the Ashe. By the time they close the distance to where we're expecting to start a fight, you will have bubbles back online. But because our Rhine is now opting
to push, I don't have it. Yeah, because after that I realized, oh shit, Roadhog is on the left. like on the statue, you can just hook me, and Rodok that hooks you, you immediately lose like half your life at
Yeah.
least, right? So it's like
Yeah, the key thing here is you're not trying to fight here, so I think it was okay to use your bubble because you were ready to back up after this. The problem lies in your Rhine not having that information and choosing to make a play on his own, and then we try to follow that up despite it being... Yeah. Yeah. Realistically, there was just no reason to take a fight here, but we're not here to coach the Rhine, so that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. I just wanted to know, trying to apply what we talked about earlier.
The biggest question you should be asking yourself of when a bubble was okay to use just for charge, or was too late to use, or wasn't greedy enough, or those kind of things, is just, is the fight about to happen in the next 5 seconds? If the answer is yes, you should probably want to have your bubbles ready. Like for here, for example, we're not trying to fight right away. We're down a couple members. We're maybe getting some poke, some extra charge. Our Rhine should be backing up. And we're just trying to live. But we can get some poke and we can get some charge while we're living. So that's a good use of your bubble. Again, same thing here. We're not ready to fight. We're just getting some charge in the neutral. And this is all good. As long as we are maintaining... That's a bit unlucky. As long as we are maintaining long enough distance to the point where they cannot punish the use of your bubble, or they're not in a position like behind you to punish the use of your bubble, it's fine. And of course, as we mentioned, as long as you're not about to go aggressive, or you're about to find an angle, or you're about to start a duel with someone in which you would need the bubble, it's fine.
It's coming up, so don't worry, I fuck up.
Can't wait.
Yeah, this basically loses us the entire rest of the match.
Yeah, again,
still people coming back. I want to kind of meet up with them
here. These aren't bad uses for your bubbles. Ooh, that was a very aggressive grab. Good combo with Dragon, though.
Kind of standing together. Yeah,
that was good. That was actually very scary because the Sigma had a shift available, right? He just didn't use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
but yeah, we had Dragon combo. It's fine to shoot it that aggressively. Nice. Mercy secures the kill.
Yeah, nice.
Ooh, almost got the Hanzo. That's a tough one.
I get hooked after I used my bubble, and well, so I block shield here, and I didn't go back immediately.
I think so.
That's so bad.
You were bubbling to block the rock.
A little bit, and then that and I don't go into kind of cover. I don't go into shop. I don't go behind cut.
Yeah.
I think I'm able to go to shop here, but yeah.
Yeah. Again,
the step forward.
It's a bit painful to see because you were obviously expecting the Rhine shield to come forward and protect you in this moment. And again, perfect scenario, more coordinated team, higher level players. This Rhine does block this hook, but he's not even thinking about it right now. So you do get hooked. But again, yeah, things you could have done, like you said, instead of walking forward to catch that rock, staying back here to take the spam, and then you're right by a corner, or you're right behind the payload.
Yeah, I was so angry with myself. It's like,
and then it's just bad news from there on out.
Push. Yeah. Like, that's kind of this map. We never really get another real fight here, so you can just hurry up this rest, I think.
All right, here. Let's fast forward, see if there's anything we can talk about.
Again, I bubble here, maybe too greedy to just have the time to kill the Ash, but probably.
So yeah, the biggest problem through this exchange was we never took our foot off the gas. So like from right here, moving forward, one, we're already like down a lot. We're about to die. As Hanzo, we're about to go down another member, I believe. Our Ana, maybe? Yeah. So like already the wind is out of our sails.
4v6.
But we still push forward.
I think we kind of feel like we need to because of the payload.
Yeah, because the point's about to touch. Yeah, of course. I will say at this point, as Zarya, more importantly than anyone else in the game, would be living as long as possible with Zarya to maintain your charge. You're 2% charge right now. But if you could have, like, even if your team is calling, oh, we could touch, we can win, and you know the situation is doomed because we're here and we're down 2 and our Reinhardt is charging into their spawn, and you think it's a bad situation, just, no need to die on payload here. Play to live, play to get some extra right clicks out, play to save a little bit of charge if you can.
Yep. Okay, but really it was just like scuffed the rest, as I said. Like
Yeah,
they just
it was
pushed
scuffed
through here, so
right out the
whatever.
gate. And now we're swapping onto a ball.
Perseverance is the key.
It's like the rest is like, as I said, like whatever.
And our ball is off the map. And yeah, without Reinhardt now, we're now sort of mirroring this sort of, even though I would consider ball the main tank, this is a very similar play style to a double off tank composition. So again, before with Rein Zarya, we had advantage in the front line. We could just walk at them and find advantages that way.
Right.
It's up to
And now
them
we
to
don't
play
have any
around us.
shield. Yeah.
But now, yeah, exactly. Now technically they have the front line advantage. So what you can do in this situation is one of two things. Either go on hero missions, go around the map to find off-angle pressure, which is going to be very hard to find charge with, but very strong if you do have high charge. Or
Right.
you play very almost like baity, and you play in ground where if they push you, they are now opening themselves up to other members of your team. What you don't want to do right now is stack up as 5 people and let your ball roll around the map, because if you're only exerting threat from one angle, they're going to hook you, they're going to outshield you, they are going to destroy you. So you need to split their attention.
Whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it feels super bad at this point. Low, just being revived, having no energy. It's just like.
And very little map for you to play with. So it's not a good situation to be in.
Well, as I said, we're just like, getting gold here.
And yeah, just fast forward through the rest. So that came down initially just to ultimates, and then we got snowballed because we swapped off Reinhardt, and we failed to ever regroup.
Yeah, as I said, like the rest. After me just like saying, "Hey, hook me," just like.
Unfortunate.
Okay, on
timing.
the push, there was one decision where, again, in the first push, I get hooked and killed because I thought we can push with Ryan, and I want to get a little bit of an off angle, but I didn't really commit to it. So this comes up immediately, basically. My thought is that I should have committed there and either go to the car where I wanted to go, or go to the mini, but I was kind of caught in between a little bit and was unsure what to do, and got hooked for it. Murdered.
Oh my goodness. He's 1 HP. Nice.
Yeah. So here where I wanted to push, right? But
Mhm.
my team goes back, the rest comes through, and now I'm standing in the middle of the point. I wanted to go to the car here, right? Get a little bit of like an angle on them, and be able to shoot right clicks into the backline, whatnot, yada yada. But like then my Rhine falls back because there's so much pressure, and the enemy gets revived. So I was like, okay, and then I stand there in the middle of the field, just saying like, "Hook me! We did."
So
this
I will
before.
say,
it worked so good.
This was a really good kill and a lot of forward pressure, but we didn't get it for free. We expended a lot of resources. We expended Anna's cooldowns, your cooldowns, Ryan's cooldowns.
Got yeah.
So this is good to get this kill, obviously, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can keep up forward pressure. And we try to.
I wanted to push because of Mercy, mostly. Right?
Yeah,
because
we wanted to stop the res, and that makes sense.
Exactly.
The problem lies
in
this right here. If we were all 6 members right here, right behind your Ryan, and we were pushing forward, absolutely, we kill that Mercy, we wipe this team, we cap first point. But because our attention is split, and obviously hard to tell that from your POV up on the front line, we can't make that decision as a team, so we end up stalling out. Now our team's ready to push, but at this point the Ryan's res, and then we used our bubbles early because we thought we were going aggressive, and we get hooked ahead of the team. So this is one of those situations where, yes, you want to be playing aggressive, you want to be finding opportunities, but you still need to be self-reliant. You still need to wait for your self-bubble, even though you perceive a huge advantage going in your favor. There were things happening outside of your field of vision, which is a very uniquely Overwatch-related problem, where even though it feels
you just have
like you have priority,
45 degrees or whatever, or 103 or whatever it is, So would you say, like what I said earlier, is like commit to the flank and then go to the place where you said I should have gone earlier, like go down to the direction of the mega? No, I mean
or
the other
towards
way
this
around.
way?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
if you had self-bubble available, so you're still waiting for your self-bubble for about 4 seconds. So at this moment right here, seeing that your Rhine is purple and he's not pushing forward and we don't have the damage currently, like there's no one that's currently like 1 HP about to die, at this point you should be backing up. You don't have bubble available for yourself to maintain this position or to rotate to a more aggressive position, so you need to give up space to regain your personal resources.
Right. Wait. Just wait. Okay.
Yeah, that's really it. Wait for your next window. We got everything we could. We even got a kill, but it wasn't enough to win the team fight, so we need to wait for our next window.
But Mercy is a hero. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is going to happen a lot in every game you go up against a Baptiste, where you feel like you've got this huge advantage, and then they use a lamp, and then all of a sudden, all of our aggression just got stalled out by one ability. Do I have the capability to burn through that ability and keep up aggression, or do I need to wait for my next set of cooldowns? The good news is, stuff like Res, stuff like Lamp, has the longest cooldown in the game outside of ultimates.
Yeah, like
so your window
seconds and 30 seconds or whatever it
exactly.
is.
You're going to have 2, 3, 4 opportunity windows again before that comes back online. So have that patience. Even though it's very easy to get bloodthirsty and see those opportunities, you never have the full story as an individual, and it's better to react to what you know you can accomplish, and that's going to come down to your own resources, charge, damage, positioning, more than anticipating value from your team until you start playing like at really high levels and with coordinated team environments.
Yeah, then Ana. Okay, here's an interesting question. Should I try to kind of go for the Genji and track the Roadhog, or should I just, because I just saw Ana be completely out of position on kind of boots, right?
Yeah, let's see one more time. So I think the kill on the Genji was good, obviously. It doesn't put you out of position. You get the kill. So now, yeah, you're right. You did see the Ana, and you have self bubble available. You could, if you wanted to, even chase this Ashe moving forward. You have sort of like 3 targets available. Again, what most people
look, if I see what my self bubble is right now, my cooldown.
It's just came off cooldown.
So it's coming up. So I'm super worried about like Roadhog one-shotting one person and then just like maybe get another one, right? So that's why I kind of want to track Roadhog, but I don't know if that's right.
So I think either Roadhog or this Ana are equally correct decisions. And the reason I say that is you are at advantage right now. You've killed 2 people. You have full cooldowns. You have the capability to make this decision because you have self bubble. The choice is in your hands. And in this type of situation, like I mentioned, most players will favor stability and the safest option. Like you mentioned, peeling for your Hanzo to make sure he doesn't die is a safe option. Playing with your team and securing this kill on the Ana and maintaining point presence is a safe option. The only thing I would say is going aggressive here is a risky option, because this is where you open yourself up to potentially getting really unlucky. Like if this Ashe lands a headshot, you force a bubble, you get booped away by ball.
Ashe,
yeah,
Hanzo,
exactly.
And then
it's just nightmare situation. So many bad things could happen, so you want to just like the path of least resistance. And yeah, I think healing for your Hanzo here is fine. And it's leaving you at a good angle to continue this fight. Pretty much uncontested. I would like to see you off of the point, like I mentioned sort of at the end of our first attack. There's no need for you to be on top of your Reinhardt in this situation. You want to be that sort of, even just like right here, or right here, or even like right here. Makes it easier for you to acquire and beam down your target, and harder for them to acquire a target because you're split. And in order for Ball to hit Reinhardt, he has to commit here, and therefore can't commit on you.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a little bit of min-maxing there, but every little advantage helps.
So here I tell my Ana to move up with the rest and let me push. I don't know if that's the correct choice.
I would say that's objectively the wrong choice, actually. Because, just like I mentioned before, like your death is the most important, so you should be trying to live above everyone else to maintain your charge. In order to get a proper snowball here, 1, we need you with the front line to anchor stability, because what if someone gets hooked? What if your Reinhardt's shield breaks? What if all these bad things potentially happen? You want those bubbles there. But also, we want you at 100% charge before the fight even starts. And there's a 0% of that happening. Push. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So I think that we can just move on a little bit here.
Yeah. Okay. Fast forward to the next team fight as we're chilling on cart.
And we go into overtime now, which is important for like a few decisions that I do later on. But it's just like me basically trying to stay on cart, not trusting my random.
Yeah. It is good to, of course, guarantee that you have cart presence, but I would say like you'd want to start up here and then peel back to the cart. You want them to move through you as a tank.
Right.
Not bad tracking on the ball, but I also think if it's a solo ball going for aggressive moves like that, what you should be doing is, yes, like absorb his damage, get that free charge, but then turn your attention back to targets that have more
The 5 hours.
potential to die, basically. In this instance, of
trying
course,
to
good to
see
stay
where
on
ball
cart
is.
because we know ball is coming behind us, and we already have won this fight.
And
Ideally,
I feel like if like Shatter and ult happens, like team tends to go like kill, and then
Yeah.
run, and then it's a ball with Anna and boops her off, and
yeah,
we
exactly.
lose
So yeah,
because of
good decision
overtime.
there. This, now that we've sort of stabilized, the fight's ending though, this is where you could be trying to move up again, swap places with either your Ana or your Mercy to push the payload, and get more forward pressure and bubbles and stuff like that. Oh goodness, he's never gonna die.
Yeah, I'm super scared about the mines.
The
here,
mines.
I yeet my ult because we are in overtime. We kind of cannot really get this fight. Kind of-
Yeah, this whole time you've been at 0 charge too, because our bubbles have been a little bit chaotic, understandably, but we didn't have that pre-fight time to try and get charge.
Yeah, because I stood up guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
But we capped the point.
Ju-
Nice job.
Just eat it. Just eat it. Yeah. Then next fight we'll just get out ulted and die.
I will say this
Yeah,
is a
we
very
were
good
super
overtime push though.
concerned- We were super concerned about Rotok still being in the back, still being in the back. Was kind of said multiple times. That's why.
And again, like Gunther mentioned before, like you can commit to one area, you could commit to marking this hog, but that means you're not going to be able to commit to pushing the front line. So even if you're worried about
Right.
hog or that tracer that we saw on their first point, be aware of her, but don't commit to her.
right, and since
so-
we're in overtime, we don't really have a choice to.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
basically
And
should try to 6v5 and just move.
at this point, if anyone gets hooked, it's kind of just on their own.
Yeah, I'm a little bit slow. Ala jumps in. Maybe
yeah.
I was a little slow.
And here come all the ultimates.
But
Genji
yeah,
doesn't land a 6-man blade.
Yeah, and then
yeah,
the next
really
thing
good
is
overtime.
round 4, which we hold, and there's only the one situation because we're already
All right.
kind of getting
Yeah, we should have
overtime
time.
here.
We got a bit of extra time. We can go through.
There's the monkey backline kind of situation which I wanted to talk
Okay.
about, basically. And there's still.
Oh my
this
god. The glitch
fire
fire strike.
going on.
Interesting. So yeah, we are coming up on our hour, but let's go over that fight you wanted to talk about really quickly. That fire strike looks so weird. I've seen Moira orbs glitch out like that before, but not a fire strike.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
I lose
He really thought he'd get away with it again?
it twice, second time. Yeah, he said like, be ready to shield me if I fuck up. I was like,
Well,
sure. Yeah, and I
that's a free
completely lose
charge.
my kind of situation going around. This is what I mean. Like,
Hmm.
they have they're jumping into our backline right now, and I try to push.
Okay.
And yeah.
So I would say this really isn't you trying to push. This is your Reinhardt trying to push and you supporting him. So right here,
Yeah, because
that was a good aggression window. You got high charge, you push these people back, but at this point now with your Reinhardt asleep, we need to focus on peeling back. Even without our Ana being zoned out, our Ana and Hanzo being zoned out, we cannot maintain this position because now, even if we had 6 people pushing this way, these backline members, even unimpeded, can't influence this area. Only these people can, and all 6 of them can influence this area. So this is just a numbers advantage in their favor.
right.
In order
And
for
then
this
I
to
get
work out,
completely-
we would need our like Ana finding a nade in the backline or a Hanzo going for an off angle at the same time.
And then I get completely bamboozled here in a second. I think to have life. Scared. What, where are they? What?
Oh, we lived though. Oh, or do we?
We actually we hold this. Yeah, we hold this. Easy.
Okay. So again, another one of those situations where I think you were too close to the action, where you found that you had trouble like actually discerning a target and figuring out exactly where you should be. That's where having that off angle, separating yourself just a little bit, even if it means just standing farther behind him from your Rhine, or as the fight's progressing more towards point, being able to maintain a little bit of distance can help you there, just from that awareness
Yeah,
standpoint.
I mean, I just tried to help the Ryan, and he got hooked
Yeah.
and then slapped, and was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
a
I don't
lot
have
happened to you,
to-"
right? That was unfortunate for sure. And he's going for another bid.
Here, I just shield and go
Slightly.
after the
Yeah,
one.
okay. Yeah, not bad. You knew Ryan had the follow up, you bubbled him even for it, and you cleaned up the Roadhog. Not bad. I would say, again, this was a bit of an optimistic grab, solely because it
Okay.
would be very hard for you to follow up on that individually. But our team's coordinated enough to follow up for you, and you're able to clean it up.
Yeah,
So not
and I
bad.
was just like fire and forget, right? I wanted to
Yeah.
get like the hog, which was kind of out of position after the.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm even fine if I just kill hog there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Hanzo gets hooked.
You've been pretty on point with your reactionary bubbles, so I won't say anything about that one. You were close, though.
Yeah. I tried. I didn't have line of sight on hog, so I was just trying.
The majority of this
Then
game has
we
just
just-
been it's been hard to coordinate with our Ryan. It's hard to read exactly what he's going for, but
Yeah,
we're doing okay
as I said,
regardless.
that was my feeling, but I had really good DPS. He had good healers. So,
For sure.
Yeah, it was a good game. But I chose this game specifically, as this comes to a close, I chose this game specifically because this is a game where I felt actually pretty comfortable. I felt like I did good with my plays. I thought we had a good synergy with the team. There wasn't kind of, except like 1 or 2 players with Ryan, right? But like
Yeah.
there wasn't like generally like something that stood out, which like one
No
person
glaring
was,
moments.
Like, yeeting like over the map with like the rest of us was like with question marks in our eyes. So that's why I chose this, because this is basically me being like comfortable playing how I want to play.
It's a
What
good
is wrong with
representation of your
me
play.
Exactly, but again, coming back to the kind of blind spot thing, what is wrong with me? And like, correct me if I'm wrong, but mostly it's bubble timing, I guess. Self bubble timing specifically.
Use of your self bubble for sure, and then the general mindset of like how much you can actually get accomplished during a team fight. Whether that means
So
doing
you-
more to try and carry, or like how much reach you actually have when you're overextending. So there were times where we caught you overextended in open positioning like this, even though you weren't always getting punished for it, where you could have been playing safer in around position, which will avoid this Roadhog hook that happened here, which will avoid
Yes.
you potentially going down to random cooldowns that are happening mid-team fight.
Right.
As well as not
big-
creating as many opportunities as you could have, especially early on in fights, by finding stuff like off angle and finding more value, especially from your self bubble, but even from your ally bubble. We saw it coming out a little bit too early, just because, again, you mentioned not being able to coordinate properly with your Rhine, but end of the day, it is your cooldown. It's your choice when to use it.
Oh, yeah.
Use
I
it in a
pressed
way
the
that
button.
benefits you.
Yeah. I'm the person who pressed the button. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay.
Everything is in your hands, and I think it almost seems like a confidence thing, where like you're comfortable, you're definitely comfortable playing this style, but I want to push you sort of out of your comfort zone and be more of that carry, more of that DPS Zarya, to be able to really propel yourself through these games, because this was a very I don't want to say it's too one-sided game, but your team was the better team, and you could have showcased more of yourself being the difference maker by outplaying them even harder as Zarya.
Right, because we had the pressure, because we were kind of at
Yeah.
least matched with the enemy. So that gives me the opportunity to go to these flanks. So you say
Exactly.
play more aggressive but cognizant of like natural cover? Question? Is that kind of
Yeah.
where
So
we're at?
I mean, anytime you're doing anything, you should be cognizant of natural cover. You can almost think of Reinhardt as natural cover, but even without his shield available, you should be or even with his shield available, I should say, you should be thinking about where you're going to be going when he puts his shield down. Where am I going to be going after I walk in front of his shield and bubble? Am I going to back up behind it, or am I go for a more aggressive angle? I'm going to go for a really aggressive angle. These kind of things.
Okay.
And then
So what is my homework then?
what is your homework? Carry harder. Go into these games with the
Do
mindset
shit.
that the only person in the lobby that matters from your team is you, and you are there to make a difference, and you are there to win SR. So when you go into these games, even if you can't coordinate with your Reinhardt, even if he's charging from spawn across the map, even if he's doing unexpected behavior, how are you going to use that to your advantage? At the very least, he's probably going to get you some charge from your bubbles. So use that charge to its utmost potential by finding more aggressive angles, staying alive in these aggressive positions for longer by finding better use of your bubbles. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up too was your ult usage. it was great in this map because your team had combos like dragons, had your Genji and your Rhine following them up. But if you are not able to follow up your own grabs and carry those fights yourself, try to think more heavily about whether or not it's actually worth using. Because the guaranteed combo of like grab dragon, like that's an easy one, sure, but that's not going to be every single game, and you can't always depend on your teammates to be even like a Reinhardt to follow up and swing, because maybe he needs to block the enemy Reinhardt shatter if he's in the grab, or maybe he's watching to block an enemy on a sleep. He's not always going to have the capability to swing on your grab, so you need to be the one to follow those up.
Right, and the bubbles in general I'm too focused on charge bubbles.
Mm-hmm. That's a very easy.
That's kind of the other thing.
Yeah, I think that's a very easy fix where instead of using it as a defensive, like, neutral fight cooldown, use it as an aggressive cooldown. You're using bubble, or the fact that you have bubble available, to warrant being over-aggressive. And then you cover that over-aggression with your bubble to either back out or even keep pushing forward to secure kills.
That's what I do right now, or what I should do.
That's what you should be doing. What you do right now is you use it as you're moving forward sometimes, or you use it a little bit too early, and it limits your capability of moving forward.
Okay.
At least that's what I saw the most of.
Yep. No, absolutely. That's what I try to make it clear. Okay, cool.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that's a good place to leave things. Good luck in your future games. Looking forward to see how you progress. And thank you for coming on stream. I know this was a bit awkward to try and schedule, so I appreciate your patience and being flexible.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Ogara. And I have got to get started with my next session, so I will bid you a good night, I suppose, out there in Europe.
Yes.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.